Now, you probably have questions. Why am I dressed up like this? Well, unless you were right here, like a few hours ago as of me recording this video, you should have known that I was watching the Game Awards, which concluded like about an hour and a half ago. So that's why I was dressed up for the occasion, you know, just for the memes. But we're going to get into a serious topic that came across my attention about a couple of days ago. So let's not waste any time and let's get on with it. Let's go. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, the YouTube citizens, y'all know who this is. It's the boy Troy, and for today's date is... It's actually... It's been a long time since I've done this. Actually, it's been a long time since I said this, actually. Today's date is Friday the 13th. I still don't know where the lightning come from. I'm indoors. But anywho, so what's going on today? Do we have any news regarding the New Year's event? Nope. Any news regarding another event coming up? No. Do we finally have GoFest? Not even close. No. But no news today, nothing like that. But I want to talk about something that came across my attention. A little interesting article that was posted on PokemonGoHub.net like actually 3 days ago to be exact. So we're going to go over the entire article and then I'm going to get my thoughts on it. So let's not waste any time. Let's get on with it. Check this out. So the title of the article is called How Niantic's New Systems Are Dividing the Pokemon Go Community. Keep that title in mind, folks. Alright, so this was done by Zerogon and this was updated 3 days ago. So let's go through this article real quick. I have enjoyed playing Pokemon Go for a very long time now, and I always look forward to new content being released. Historically, the game was always something I could do on my own, and that felt better when I was playing in larger groups. I was encouraged to play with other groups, of course, but even if I wasn't able to, I always felt like I had control over my very own Pokemon Go experience. For example, if I wanted a particular legendary, I could spend money in raid remotely. Yes, it's quote unquote pay to play, but at my age, 33 years old, I have no problem paying for access. That is no longer the case as more and more Pokemon being released are locked behind arbitrary, local-only progression systems. The focus of this article is on how Niantic's latest systems have made Pokemon Go into a completely different game. A game which is no longer a pick-up-and-go game, in quotes, but a game where you need to pre-plan, for arbitrary currencies, coordinate elaborate gaming sessions, and be constantly on a lookout not to miss out on something. Otherwise, you're left behind. Now, so far within the article, it doesn't mention anything about how the community is split. Because remember, the title is called How Niantic's New Systems Are Dividing the Pokemon Go Community. But let's move on. Here's how Pokemon Go, at least for me, feels like the worst days of repetitive World of Warcraft daily quests. Two systems jumps out immediately here. Shadow Raids and Max Battles. Alright, let's jump into Shadow Raids. Want to Shadow Raid? You better have some gems. Shadow Raids are a terrific idea in a vacuum. You fight an overpowered or empowered Shadow Raid boss, which is a stronger version of that Pokemon that can enrage. When the boss is enraged, you essentially cannot damage it. Of course, you can remove the enrage, but in order to subdue the enraged Shadow boss, you will need a special item. Purified gems. Now, to correct this paragraph right here, even when it is enraged, yes, you can damage it, but depending on what level it is, if it's like level 1, which I don't think they can be enraged because you took it down so quickly, but if it's level 3 and there's a bunch of people doing that same raid, then yeah, you can definitely, damage it. If it's a level 5 and there's like 20 people, then yeah, you can damage it. But if it's a level 5 and there's like 3, 4, 5 of y'all, that damage is like 0.0000001%. It's there, but it's like extremely tiny. Let's move on with the article. Actually, you would need 8 of them. As for tier 3 and tier 5 Shadow Raids, it is required to use 8 purified gems to subdue a raid boss. Okay, hold up. For a tier 5, okay, I didn't know that, so that's cool. But for a tier 3, is it? I don't know about that one. But let's move on. Now, that's not something you can get at a Shadow Raid. Purified gems are something you should have brought with you to the Shadow Raid. However, what if your community is small or busy or unable to play regularly? What happens if you don't have purified gems? It turns out you are in for a lot of trouble, and you can basically forget soloing any of this content. Not only are you unable to solo the vast majority of these raids, you are also expected to farm purified gems in advance. And how do you get these gems? Defeating Team Go Rocket grunts and leaders. Don't care about the grunts, you're in big trouble again. Have a friend who hasn't played in a while, that's keywords right there, and who is really excited to see a new type of raids on their map. Forget about it. They probably don't have any purified gems and can't be bothered to farm. So, we have a feature that requires pre-planning, preparation, walking to a location, or driving to a location, and a minimum of 2 players doing this. Is it worth it? I don't think so, especially if you compare it with the regular raids. And let's take a look at the comparison chart real quick. So, we have requires powering up strong Pokemon, both of them, yes. We have requires powering up special moves, both of them, no. We have requiring collecting special Pokemon, both of them, no. We have requiring farming special items, regular raids, no. Shadow raids, yes, in the form of purified gems. We have requiring learning special strategies, both of them, no. Local only, regular raids, mostly, no. Shadow raids, definitely, yes. Tier 3 requires groups. Regular raids? No. Shadow raids? Some of them. If you compare them directly, the main back up. And right off the bat, we have a problem. Right off the bat, we have a problem right here. If some of the tier 3 shadow raids are soloable, right? Then why does it say up here for tier 3 raids, you need 8 purified gems to subdue a raid boss? Because, ladies and gentlemen, here's how the mechanic works regarding purified gems. And I hate this mechanic, and I think it needs to be changed, by the way. You can, even though you can probably hold up to 10, 11, 12, 13. So the maximum, well, not the maximum, but the limit is 10, but you can go beyond that, whatever the case may be. But despite that, you can only bring 5 at a time. One person can bring only 5 purified gems. So if you can only bring in a raid 5 purified gems, and it says in the article that you need 8 to subdue the raid boss at tier 3 and tier 5, then how is this possible that you can solo a tier 3? Now, I guess if they mean like a group, like as in 3 or more, okay, that makes sense. So if they're not counting 2 people as a group, then that makes sense. But if this applies that you can solo tier 3s, then we got a problem here. That's contradicting what was said in the article. So that needs to be more clear. What does tier 3 requires group mean? As in 2 people or more, or 3 people or more, or 4 people or more? What does that mean? We need to know what that means. All right. Oh, and actually, no, we don't need an explanation. Let's check out the next paragraph. If you compare them directly, the main difference is that for shadow raids, you need to farm, you need to walk, and you cannot easily solo tier 3 raids. They said you cannot easily solo, but that applies that you can solo tier 3 raids, but not as easy as a regular raid. And again, if you need 8 purified gems to do a shadow raid boss that is tier 3 or higher, how can you solo it? Now we got a contradiction right here. But let's move on. In other words, they take more time, they are more cumbersome, and they have prerequisites. So there's that. They are time consuming for experienced players, which is true, and they are gatekeeping Pokemon from returning and new trainers, which is also true. Let's see if max battles are any better. No local community, no Gigantamax Pokemon for you. If shadow raids are gatekeepers, then imagine how difficult max battles are to get in. Let's ignore the fact that they feel like a completely different game that was violently attached to the core Pokemon Go experience. Let's start with regular Dynamax raids first. Tier 1 Dynamax raids are easy, everyone can complete them, and it's a joke, which is true. Tier 3 Dynamax raids are difficult to solo unless you have prepared the right Pokemon, which is also true. And I will throw this in there as well. If the raid boss have certain moves or is not using certain moves, then yeah, you can solo it. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult to set. Moving on. Tier 4 plus Dynamax raids are not soloable by design. And that would be fine. It would be great. But unfortunately, you won't do well in higher tier max battles unless you farm the lower ones first. Don't forget, only Pokemon caught from max battles can participate in max battles. What a nightmare, ain't it? Imagine trying to explain that to a friend that is returning to Pokemon Go after a break. Hey, Surge, sure you can play, but you first need to go and farm these low-level max Pokemon, which you then need to power up, which is partially true, but not really. And then you can join our super cool Dynamax raiding club. Oh, you have kids and you can't do that? Sorry, that's too bad then. In reality, by limiting which Pokemon can be used in max battles, Niantic has ostracized, I probably said that wrong, but whatever, anyone who is not able to grind max battles. Sure, there are lower reasons why this is the way it is, but why is there no catch-up mechanism in the game? Okay. This part right, I feel like there's something wrong here, but I can't pinpoint what it is. I really can't. But I did actually, now that I think about it, I did mention like a catch-up suggestion to them when Gigantamax was coming out, and at the time it was like no, but apparently they listened and they did, kind of in the form of a, I think it was a time research or a special research where they gave you a second Dynamax raid boss or a Gigantamax one in the form of like toxicity, things of that nature, doing the wild area event. So I mean, they kind of listened with the whole catch-up fiasco. So instead of you starting off with the Rulu and going from there, which would have been, it wouldn't fly. But the problem is, the wild area event was a 1 weekend only thing, and if you're just getting into the game after that, I don't know what to say. But I feel like there was another way for you to catch up. I don't know off the top of my head, but let's move on. Why does everyone have to go through the same hoops to participate? What are returning players supposed to do? And what's the point in collecting strong Pokemon over the past years if we can't use them everywhere? There are so many unanswered questions, but the reality is that this is just bad game design. A huge portion of the player base won't bother going through the process of acquiring good max Pokemon, and they will be forever blocked from enjoying this content. Not only that, but max battles mechanics are completely utterly different from raids and shadow raids, and this requires learning special strategies that revolves around tanks slash damage dealers slash healers. That's another hurdle that trainers need to overcome to participate in this content. And I'm gonna stop it right here, because that part is easy. All you have to do is use common sense and say, wait a minute. We have an option of heal and defense. What does that mean? Let me go online and see what that means. Okay, True Inferno talked about it. Lando Alpha talked about it. Trainer Sips talked about it. Pokemon Go Hub talked about it. Leaked Up probably talked about it. There's many different resources online that explains how this works. All you have to do is just go online and do your research. But people don't do that. So this part, that's more of an excuse more than anything. But let's move on. With that being said, let's compare max battles with other types of raids and see how they fare. Okay, so we back to this again. Require powering up strong Pokemon. Raids, yes. Shadow raids, yes. Max battles, it says yes, but in actuality, maybe the moves, like the Dynamax, Gigantamax moves, but in terms of actually powering up Pokemon to level 4, level 50, it depends. It depends. Moving on. Requiring powering up special moves. And this, here it is right here. Raids and shadow raids, no. Max battles, yes. Okay, now that point, yeah. But that first part, not really. Not really. If you're gonna be a healer, if you're gonna be a defender, aka the tank, then yeah, you need to power up that Pokemon. If you're gonna be an attacker, no, you don't. You don't need to power them up. Let's move on. Requires collective special Pokemon. Raids and shadow raids, no. Max battles, yes. No issues there. Requiring farming special items. Raids, no. Shadow raids, yes. Purified gems. Max battles, no. Okay. Requires learning special strategies. Raids and shadow raids, no. Max battles, yes. But so what? Educate yourselves. But let's move on. Local only. Raids, no. Shadow raids and max battles, yes. T3 requires group. Raids, no. Shadow raids, we already explained that one. And then max battles, maybe. So again, what is a group? Is it groups of 2 or more? Groups of 3 or more? Groups of 4 or more? I'm assuming groups of 2 or more based on that paragraph that I talked about earlier. Let's move on. As you can see, in order to participate in max battles, you will need to 1. Farm special Pokemon in advance. 2. Power them up. 3. Power up their special max moves. 4. Learn the max battles mechanics in which max moves you want to power up. 5. Get a group. And 6. And walk up to every battle which you want to try rather. Compare that to the sheer simplicity, ease, and frictionless experience of normal raids. Heck, even shadow raids seem a breeze compared to max battles. And again, I'll break all that down later on in the video. Even worse, if we start talking about Gigantamax Pokemon, not only do you need to fulfill all of the requirements above, you also need to get a really big group going. It becomes very obvious how this feature cannot function outside of large urban areas, and that's the design decisions behind it were made as if everyone lived in a large urban area. Compare that to Pokemon Go's usual gameplay style, which can be enjoyed literally anywhere, and it becomes even more confusing. Not really, but okay. How did the game go in this direction? Who is the audience for this? Anyway, you get the picture. Water Warcraft or Water Pokemon Go Craft Vanilla. This type of game design is not a new thing, and it was infamous during the Water Warcraft's original launch and the successor Burning Crusade expansion, which I came in shortly after that. Different raids, dungeons, and content patches were gated behind reputation requirements, gear requirements, and keys which needed to be collected elsewhere. Players hated it. They even created maps of requirements to expand or to explain to one another what you need to do to access a particular piece of content. Preach Gaming, a long-time WoW YouTuber, has an excellent retrospective video explaining how insane this was. Luckily, we are not there, but the reality is that Pokemon Go's content is becoming increasingly difficult to access. When was the last time a new Pokemon was just released? I feel like something new dropped out, but I could be wrong. But let's move on. No gimmicks, no special requirements, no eggs or raids, just a regular route encounter that you could chase and enjoy. Mighty Pokemon was such a refreshment during the route area, but they also reminded me of how far astray the game has gone from its original catch Pokemon in the world around you ethos. I don't know, maybe I'm in the minority, but I do miss Pokemon Go's simpler, less demanding days. It generally feels like a growing number of players are opting to avoid dealing with the complexity of max battles. And then this part is important right here. I also must admit, I had some strong feelings as I was typing this article. Some part of it may and probably will come across as too opinionated, and it is, I'll be honest. It's because they indeed are my own opinions. I urge you to think about the points I laid out in the article for your own perspective and don't take my words for granted. You too have a say in this, dear reader. Okay, so that's the article right here. So let's talk about this real quick. So now what and actually we could break this down by the chart that he had, the requirement chart. Requires powering up strong Pokemon. Yeah, that's going to be the thing. That's going to be the thing for raiding. That's going to be the thing for PvP. That's going to be the thing when it comes to battles. That's going to be the thing. Next up, requiring powering up special moves. Okay. Yeah, you're going to have to do that for max battles, you know, Dynamax, Gigantamax, stuff like that. So, while I'm not going to say what the big deal is because you need max particles and max cells or whatever they're called to do those things, and that's pretty expensive. Like, I'll be honest, it's really, really expensive. The only good thing about that is this though, you really want to do that in preparation for Gigantamax Pokemon, and it's not like one is coming out every day, one isn't coming out every week or anything like that. One would come out once in a while, so you have plenty of time to power up whatever Pokemon that you need to power up to gather the max particles and the max cells, whatever the case may be, to prepare for a Gigantamax Pokemon. So you have time. And regarding the Dynamax Pokemon, the majority of them are either tier 1s or tier 3s. And the majority of those are soloable, especially the tier 1s. Tier 3s, depending on your level, I can understand why you may have a hard time with that. But tier 1s, you should be straight to solo those. So you have like a time window. You have some time to prepare for the next Gigantamax raid boss whenever it comes out. Because obviously we just got done with Lapras. We don't know what the next one is at the moment. So we probably won't get one until January. That's my guess. So there's that. Let's move on. Collecting or requiring farming special items. The only one for that is Shadow Raids. Okay. So here's the thing about that. Now, I'm pretty sure most of you guys, unless you're trying to get like nothing but all 12 kilometer eggs, you want to hatch them all at the same time, something like that. You're not going to spend money on, what's the thing called? The rocket radars. You're not going to spend money on that. So what you going to do? You're going to battle the Team Go Rocket Grunts. Like, at the very least, 3 cones per day from the balloon. You can go out and find them at Pokestops, and you can collect those, you know, the gems, well, the materials needed to make the gems from those. So to get the purified gems, it's not really hard at all. It's really not. And then also, you can also do tier 1 shadow raids and tier 3 shadow raids, although we'll talk about that in a second. But some of those can be soloable, especially some of the tier 3 ones. So, and you can get the purified gems and the shards from those as well. So it's not hard to get the special items, or in this case, the purified gems. It's really not. And it's not hard to get like 10 of them, whatever the case may be. So keep that in mind. So there's no complaining about that. Requiring learning special strategies. Okay, let's get into this real quick. Because the main point of this article is like the fact that, oh, everything is becoming more difficult and you miss the days when you can just tap and basically not use your brain cell. And I'm like, it's a game. Like, there's certain parts of the game that's going to be more challenging than others. Everything is not supposed to be the same, not supposed to have the same mechanic. Obviously, by me saying that, yeah, there's raiding, there's PvP, you can trade, you can hatch eggs, which are the 4 things that make up Pokemon as a whole. But in terms of like battling, like not everything is supposed to be tap, and then like barely dodging, which there's a new, I'm gonna come out with a video on dodging, because yes, now dodging have improved. But the bottom line is this: I don't mind them stretching up the strategies to make you use your brain and say, oh, wait a minute, we can't just attack here. We actually got to defend. We actually got to heal people. We got to do other stuff to complete our objective. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But there are some things that do have issues, and ironically enough, it's the next thing. Local only. Shadow Raids, max battles. I do have a problem with that because of the fact that we're saying in the article, not everybody in the world lives in a large urban area where you can just come together within 5 minutes and do a Gigantamax raid or do a Shadow Mewtwo raid. That's not possible because people got lives outside the game. People got other obligations outside the game. You know, the weather conditions may be bad. They may live in a dangerous area. So this is not realistic for the entire world of Pokemon Go players to just simply go out and play and connect with each other and do Shadow Raids and do Gigantamax raids. That's not realistic. So I wish that there was an option to remote to the Shadow Raids, to the Gigantamax raids, and then maybe penalize them. Obviously, they do that by making the remote raid passes price go through the roof. Whereas if you're local, if you're there in person, the price is like cut. They should do the same with Shadow Raids and definitely do the same with the max battles. Cause oh my gosh, the prices to do those are through the roof as if you're doing a remote raid. So to me, that makes no sense either. So that's another thing that's drawing people away. Like people just show up for like 1 or 2 Gigantamax raids and then they're done. Like, oh, I used up all my max particles. I'm done. I'm not buying anymore. So it's like, if you want people to come together and stay together, you need to like give people a reason to stay together. And the prices for the Gigantamax raids, Dynamax raids, they too high. They too high. So not only should Shadow Raids and max battles rather should be local, and you should be able to remote tour, but those prices have to be lowered in person, especially in person for max battles. They have to be lowered. And then the tier 3 required group. Again, what is considered a group? So is it groups of 2 or more, groups of 3 or more, or groups of 4 or more? So, well, that needs to be clarified more, but again, I had to point out the inconsistency within the article because it was mentioned that you can solo some tier 3 Shadow Raids. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, here's where the problem lies. It also was said in the article that you need 4 purified gems to subdue a Shadow Raid boss, and a raid Shadow Raid boss. So I'm like, but you can only bring in 5. One person can only bring in 5. So I'm like, which is it? Can you solo a tier 3 raid boss with 5 purified gems? Or can you not do that because you can only bring in 5 and you need 8? So I'm like, which is it? So that's where the problem lies. Now, me personally, I have solo tier 3 raid bosses, so the fact that you need 8 to bring in order to subdue a tier 3 shadow raid boss is not accurate. I just want to point that out there as well. So, bottom line is this: where is the game going as a whole? So, the direction that the game is going is this. Remember, all these new features, for the most part, the main new features that is, are based off the main series games. So the Dynamax raids and the Gigantamax raid are based off of Sword and Shield, where yeah, you could do Dynamax raids, Gigantamax raids, and some strategy is required for those games. At first, it was just attack, and then you're straight. But now people who are doing those types of battles, because they still play those games, because they shadow hunting, they're doing shadow hunts. I'm not shadow hunts, shiny hunts rather. So now people are like, well, wait a minute, what if we weaken the Pokemon? What if we boost our defenses, boost our attacks, and then we attack it? So now people are doing that now. Again, strategy. They're using their brains. It's not just tap, attack, tap, tap, attack. No. And then guess what? It's going to get, well, it's going to continue. Why? Because of the next main series games. Not Sword and Shield, but Scarlet and Violet. And what's the main feature there outside of the whole Samus fiasco? Terrestrializing Pokemon. And what's going on in there? Somebody got to heal. Somebody got to be the tank. Somebody's weakening the Pokemon. The attackers are boosting their own strength. And then once everything's in order, then you attack like crazy. And that's how it is in Scarlet and Violet. And they're going to apply that same idea to a degree into Pokemon Go. Okay, they did it for Dynamax and Gigantamax battles. You know they're going to do it for terrestrialized battles. Or whatever it's called. So, you know it's going to happen. So, the direction that is going in are the days of, oh, I don't want to use my brain and just tap, and just go attack heavy. Nah. I ain't going to say those days are over, but there's nothing wrong with a major feature or two of making you use your brain and going a different direction in terms of how to complete the objective. So I ain't no problem with it whatsoever. None at all. So, and then here's the thing. You're going to need terrestrialized Pokemon, because just like in Scarlet and Violet, you need terrestrialized Pokemon to terrestrialize them. So you know it's going to be like that in Pokemon Go. Now, I will say this though. In terms of Dynamax and Pokemon and Gigantamax and Pokemon, in Sword and Shield, if memory serves it correctly, I could be wrong, you could Dynamax your Pokemon and Gigantamax your Pokemon with any Pokemon you have. If memory serves it correctly. Granted, every single Pokemon that you caught was from that same region, so maybe every single Pokemon that was a part of that region, that was a part of that area, could Gigantamax and or Dynamax? I don't know. So it could be a scenario where, hey, you're in the, Galar region or whatever, and all the Pokemon there, yeah, you can Dynamax and Gigantamax. So they kind of, I guess you could say they're implying that to the game. So while I'm not losing sleep over it, but I can understand the frustration of, yo, we spent all this time getting all these Pokemon, getting all these hundos, powering up to level 40 and now level 50, and yet we can't use them in Dynamax battles and Gigantamax battles. I can understand the frustration there. So yeah, I'm not going to go crazy about that. But when terrestrialized Pokemon come into the game and terrestrialized battles, oh, you can throw that philosophy out the window. Yeah, you need terrestrialized Pokemon. Like, you can't use Pokemon that you caught in the past and say, oh, I'm gonna terrestrialize them. No. But at the same time, there are things where you can feed your Pokemon a certain item to change their terrestrialized forms. So that is a thing, but at the same time, again, there's not an item where you can give them a terrestrialized form. You can give them an item to change their form that they already have. So be prepared to get terrestrialized Pokemon to use in terrestrialized battles. So that's going to be a thing. So bottom line is this: with everything that's in the game right now, I have no problem with one or two things being switched up in terms of completing the objective and make you use your brain to complete the objectives instead of just being mindlessly tap, attack, no dodge, no shield. So I don't mind it. It's just like one or two things. That's it. I don't mind it at all. So overall, what I think about the direction that the game is going in with this new system, I have no problem with it. So, and then in terms of the article as a whole, well, there's some things I agree with. There's other things I disagree with. And the one thing that I really disagree with regarding the article, as I'm losing my voice, is the title. How Niantic's new systems are dividing the Pokemon Go community. There's nothing in the article talked about the divide of the Pokemon Go community. There's nothing in the article that talked about it. It's all one-sided that said, yo, I don't like this system. I don't like this format. I don't like this mechanism. I don't like the mechanic rather. That's basically what the article is, as opposed to the people who do like it, the people who don't mind it, the people who actually enjoyed it. No mentions of that in there. So where's the divide? I don't see a divide there. So if that title, and you could say that title is also kind of clickbaity, but change the title, and then, you know, everything else, it is what it is. Because why? Because it's the author's opinion. They say so. So you have to respect them for that, for giving their opinion on it. Whether you agree with all of it, whether you agree with half of it, whether you agree with some of it, or you don't agree with it at all, it's just their opinion. It's not the end of the world. And speaking of opinions, let me hear yours in the comment section below about all this. So if you want to read the article, I will have the link to it in the description box below. And also at the very end of this video, leave in the comment section below opinions. If you missed this part of the video, leave in the comment section below opinions. And at the very end, you should see two cards. One of them will be the last video that I put out, which is the holiday part 2 event news video. And the other one would be something that YouTube recommends. I don't know what it is. Go check that out. I'm gonna call it a wrap now. I'm losing my voice. So with all that said, y'all know what this is. This boy New J Gatsby, aka New Stephen A. Smith, saying peace out, y'all, and I'll see y'all next time. Yeah. It's Friday the 13th. I still don't know where the lightning come from. I'm indoors. Subscribe. Thanks, man. After you subscribe to the channel, make sure you click the bell icon so you never miss a new video or a live stream ever again. Thanks, guys.
Lewis the trainer, articulating paint. With my tongue, I done things that people said I can't. Now they rank 'em with the elite, but it's for the people, and victory is part of defeat. Cause when you get back on your feet, then you try again. Learn from mistakes, show 'em that I got what it takes, and I'm dying to win. I'ma hit and move away.